HB 419 just passed out of committee here in Missouri. This is the bill that prevents minors from being able to access gender-affirming care. Life-saving gender-affirming care. But it's way worse than you think, because they added a bunch of new amendments to it before they sent it out of committee to ensure that it was way worse than it was before. Before we get into all the details, I'm going to remind you that every major reputable medical organization, everyone, supports gender-affirming care. I'm going to remind you that puberty blockers are used to treat precocious puberty in other kids, and it's fully accepted and fine, despite the list of side effects that these folks have listed in this bill. That hormone treatments are also fine and readily available for cis hetero kids. It's fine, but it's not okay for trans kids. And I will also remind you that what's commonly referred to as top surgery is also performed on kids all the time. Breast augmentation, breast reduction, it happens all the time. As long as you are a cis heterosexual kid, it's fine. The Missouri legislature is good with you getting it. Now let's get into all the other really awful stuff that was added into this. So I won't go through the details of them outlining all the stuff that's outlawed. It's any gender-affirming care under the age of 18. But here's how they're going to actually enforce it. Anyone who either gives gender-affirming care or threatens gender-affirming care or something, apparently that's how it's written, can be sued for 30 years. By the way, they can't only be sued by the person who gets that treatment. They can also be sued by the Attorney General, who can sue on behalf of someone, even if that person doesn't want to sue. But it's not just the doctors that can be sued. Anyone who aids and abets in gender-affirming care can also be sued. Now, there is a carve-out that parents of a child cannot be sued. But anyone else, if you drive someone to an appointment, you could be sued. Oh, and if a doctor gives a referral out of state for gender-affirming care, they lose their license. They also added a provision to this bill that would outlaw any health carrier from being able to cover gender-affirming care for a minor. So you can't go out of state and get care and have it covered by your insurance. Oh, and by the way, you also can't claim that health care as tax deductible on your taxes. Oh, and by the way, even if you are an adult, your health carrier will no longer be compelled to cover gender-affirming care by law. And now I'm sorry to say that it gets even worse. Okay, so adults who are in jail in Missouri also are not allowed to have access to gender-affirming care. The way it's written, it appears that even if they are willing to pay for it themselves, they are not allowed to have access while they are in jail. This whole thing was apparently written to protect kids, but we're already targeting adults in jail, and we're targeting adults by saying that their insurance companies are not obligated to cover gender-affirming care in Missouri. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what was removed from this bill. Ben Baker is the author of most of these amendments, and he is the author of this revision.
Any procedure undertaken because the individual suffers from a physical disorder, physical injury, or physical illness that would, as certified by a physician, place the individual in imminent danger of death or impairment of a major bodily function unless surgery is performed. Previously, this at the very least had an exception for if imminent danger of death or impairment of a major bodily function unless surgery is performed, that those surgeries would be allowed. You're taking that out?
So you're talking about on page 3,
lines 66 to 69 that are deleted here. So we don't want an exception when someone's life is in imminent danger?
So the only thing I see taken out is the word physical.
So on lines 14 of your amendment, further amend said bill and section, page 3, lines 66 to 69, by deleting said lines and then replacing it with the mental health services.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong place.
That's a fairly massive exception to get rid of. If this is supposed to be about child and adolescent protection, if they're in imminent danger of death or losing a bodily function of a part of their body and they can't have surgery, why did you delete that?
TikTok, mother, dealing with people's lives.
I'm trying to figure out exactly what the difference is.
Yep, that's this ass stumbling over what's in his God amendment. You know why? Because he didn't write it. They don't write most of this shit. They don't even know what's in it. They're just told how to vote, and that's what they do. These people suck. Call your reps, tell them to vote against 419, Jesus.